Hello, my name's Zachary Woods. Today in this tutorial I will be showing you how to create leads in Dynamics 365 from your web form. So I personally am hosting my web form from my WordPress site. You may have a different CMS. This can work with any type. Basically, I'm utilizing the email that's going to be sent from the web form to my email. I'm parsing the email and I'm going to be extracting the text and creating those leads directly in Dynamics using Power Automate. A particular use case for this could be if you want to bypass any third-party email marketing automation platform, or maybe even bypass the need for a marketing for Dynamics 365 license. Either way, we are going to go through this all together, and I hope you find it useful. Okay, so let's get started. Again, we will be discussing today how to create leads in Dynamics 365 from a web form on your website or wherever your web form is hosted using Power Automate. My name is Zachary Woods. I'm a Power Platform and Dynamics consultant with Silicium Consulting. And today I'll be showing you how to potentially bypass other third-party email marketing platforms, maybe even bypassing the need for a Dynamics 365 for marketing license in order to host lead forms on your website. So let's get started. So what's going to be covered? Again, I will show you how to bypass the need for any type of external platform to handle your leads coming from your website. So although I am a fan of things like MailChimp or Emma, if we can find a way that we don't need them, then I think that's a good solution. I will also be showing you how to create the leads in Dynamics 365, and I will show you how to set that workflow up in Power Automate, formerly known as Microsoft Flow. And here are some important functions that we'll be using. Don't get caught up too much here. We will definitely be going together through all of this, but we will be using 4 of these functions here. Index of is an important function that's going to find the start position of the string that we want to parse. We'll be using the substring. It actually returns the characters, so it's actually going to return the values of the particular parameters that we want to pass through to the flow. Subtract and add functions are also 2 important functions that we will be using in this tutorial. So I'm not going to bore you with any more slides. Let's dive right in and show you how all of this works. So here we are in Power Automate. This is where we will be spending most of our time discussing how this all works. I have prepared a copy of the here of the website text, the email text coming from the website or coming from the web form. And this is pretty much what it is. It's first name, where you see the % symbols here. These are just dynamic fields. So that just means these are the fields coming directly from the form. First name, last name has requested a white paper from the website. The white paper requested is blah. The email address is blah. And then I added some text here at the bottom that a lead will automatically be created in Dynamics. So that's going to be what's coming from our web form. High level here on the flow itself, or on the Power Automation. I start with a trigger when an email arrives. Now, this is going to need to be you're going to need to definitely customize this to your own personal situation. You definitely don't want to have flows running every time a new email arrives. So either you want to probably set up some type of folder or some type of filter criteria so that your flow is not always being triggered every time a new email arrives. It's just a waste of resources. So the next connector that I use is HTML to text, which will take the body of the email and utilize that in the rest of the flow. And then I have a bunch of data operation connectors here, which we will also talk about. So let's start when a new email arrives. When a new email arrives, again, take all of this with a grain of salt. I just pretty much entered when an email arrives in my inbox. You're going to want to definitely do it differently. Refine that a bit. HTML to text, I'm going to take the body content. And then the first data operation I'm using is the compose. The length function, which returns the length of the body, right? So I'm returning the length of the body of the HTML text. Why don't we just go through and do a test run so you see the values that are returned here. So it returned the value of the whole body. So there's 237 total characters here. Great. So the next thing I did was search for first name. So let's dive into that. Search for first name. Here I use the index of function. So let's go into the Power Apps formula reference section. And I'm going to say search for the index of function. Okay, so here we see the explanation. Return the starting position or index value for a substring. This always starts with 0. Okay, so basically here's the syntax. Index of the text that we want to index. In our case, it is the body text. So let's just go ahead and copy and paste this over so you can see all this. So ignore this add for now. I will come back to that. So index of the body HTML text, okay, HTML to text. And the next parameter is search text. What do we want to search for? Okay, we want to search for first name, right? So basically, if we just ran it like this, it would return 0, right? Because it starts, it just returns where this string starts. So it would return 0. What I actually want is to start afterwards. I want to say all of this, including the space, is where this starts. So I added 12. That's where this add comes from. Okay, so we're just adding 12 to whatever this number is. So this will basically, all of this will just return 12 because it starts with 0. Search for last name in a similar fashion. It's going to index the body HTML to text, last name, and I added 11 to that. Okay, because I want to start searching for the parameter 11 characters after the start of this. Okay. So also I searched for -has. Why would I do that? I need some type of endpoint. The flow doesn't know exactly how long this text is going to be. So basically what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to find at some point, preferably after the parameter that you're trying to pass in, some stopping point, some wall that it has to hit to say, okay, everything up to here will be considered. So I search for .has, similar fashion. This sub, let me go ahead and copy this for you guys. This sub function does exactly the opposite of this. Okay, so I'm subtracting 1. Basically, I'm just saying subtract the space, right? So I'm not returning last names with spaces in them. All right, so now let's go to return characters. The return character, let's go ahead and copy paste this. So now I'm ready to return these characters, okay? For that, we're utilizing the substring function. It's all the way down here. Substring function. So let's take a look at that. Substring returns characters from a string starting from the specified position or index. Here we are, substring. And we have the text that we want to query. Okay, HTML to text again. Start index, which is going to be the output of search for first name. So basically we want to say search for first name is all the way up here. Anything after that, right? That's going to be our starting point. And then we're going to subtract, because now we need to know exactly how much text to consider and pass through. Now we're going to subtract the index of body, HTML to text. Right? Excuse me, I said that wrong. Excuse me. No. The sub function returns the result from subtracting the second number from the first number. So please, my apologies for that. We are actually subtracting search for first name, the outputs of that, from the last name. Right? So we're going over here and we're saying, I want to return the characters of first name. Well, where's my stopping point? My stopping point is going to be last name. So anything between here and here is going to be the first name. This is going to be a dynamic value. Your first name and last name is always going to be different. It's not going to be a set amount of characters. So it has to have some way of measuring that dynamically. So that's how we achieve it. We're subtracting the first name from the last name, okay? So that's how we're going to return the characters string from the first name. And then we're going to do it in a similar fashion for last name, okay? But here in this case, and this is why I searched for the dash has, okay? This is why I searched for that. Because I'm going to need to say everything between there and there needs to be put in there, okay? So I achieved that here as well. We see the last name outputs, okay? Subtract that from dash has outputs, right? And that should return the last name string. So basically, all of these have been done in a similar fashion. If it's a search for the text, it's the index of function. If it's returning characters, I use the substring function. I did that in a similar fashion for the email address and returning the characters for that as well. Okay, so let's go down to creating a record. I used the Dynamics 365 connector. Selected my organization, selected the lead entity, and the criteria that will appear down here for inputs will vary depending on where you want to create the record. But I'm creating the record under the lead entity. The last name will be the output from the last name string. Okay, from here. The topic will be, which in my case, this is going to also probably vary from use case to use case, but my topic is whichever white paper they're interested in downloading. In this case, it was event management. Email address is the characters returned from the email address substring. And first name. First name returned from the substring function here. Okay, so let's test this again. And I'm not going to go through inputting information on a web form. Everybody knows how to do that. I'm just going to simply test this with parameters that are already in there and show you how the results look. So when an email arrives, it will inspect that email. And we, of course, then take that email body, HTML to text, right? Returning the HTML to plain text. I'm searching for how many characters are in the body, searching for first name, searching for last name, searching for dash has in my case, returning the characters for first name, and here we see it returns George, and return characters from last name. We see Lucas, George Lucas, downloaded our white paper. And a similar fashion for the topic, event management, which returns the string for that. And returning the email address. All of these parameters are then passed through, and the lead is created. We see the entity name is lead. Here's the body, here's the email, here's the last name, here's the first name, and here's the topic. Excuse me, this is the input. All of this is also, of course, in the output as well. Okay, so let's hop on over to Power Apps. Show you how to get to the lead entity. We're going to search under data, entities. We're going to search for the lead entity. We're going to click on it. It's of course going to display other fields, relationships, business rules, all of these parameters. We're going to click on data. Now we're going to see, oh, I got a bunch of tests here, of course. Okay, so let's just click on one. Now, of course, there's, going back to this, there will probably need to be some type of lookup to see if the record exists. You don't want to be creating duplicate leads. So you definitely need to have some type of functionality there in place where it checks if the lead is existing or not. Okay, and here we are in the lead form, and we see the lead is created. Now, of course, there's so many different ways you can do this, so many more data fields you could utilize. This is just basically up to you what the need is and what information is important for your leads. So that is pretty much it. We see we have a fully functional flow that takes lead information from our web form, which emails information to us. It checks that email, we parse that email, and we then create a lead in Dynamics. So folks, that was it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. If you ever need help building your Power Apps, let me know. And I hope you have a great day.